We're going to talk a little bit about appeals. A couple of you talked about doing appeals. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about, in this annual giving category, if you were to do annual appeals in a traditional model, there is, I like to say, there is an art and a science to fundraising, okay? The art, of course, is building those relationships with people. And the science is that we actually have a model for how we go about this. And it's cyclical. So if you're going to do an annual campaign with your donor data file that you now have so fabulously put together and organized, okay, you're going to have 4 appeals within a year. This is the model. This may not be how you choose to do it. Your first appeal is your biggest, your boldest, your best. It's out there. It's everything you've got to attract donors. This goes at the beginning of your year. So most of you probably run on a school year. So this is going to go out by August 30th. Okay? You're going to generate funds immediately. Okay? Your second appeal comes with a tax end of the year message. So this is going to go November 30th. And this talks about don't miss out on tax deduction for the end of the calendar year. Anyone that responds to the first appeal doesn't get the second appeal, right? We're taking them out. So your mailings are getting less because people are responding. Your third appeal is spring. Fourth appeal is end of your fiscal year. This message is don't miss out. We don't want to miss you this year. Okay? You may choose in these appeals to lessen the audience it goes to. This appeal goes to everyone, big, bold, everybody. This one, you may say, I'm just going to send this one to people that have donated in the past. You may come back with the spring one and say, I'm going to try to send it to everybody that hasn't responded. And the end of the fiscal year, you may just go back to just doing donors. But you can choose. If any of you send newsletters or other communication pieces, these appeals may take place of those newsletters, or the appeal may be a part of that newsletter. You may decide this third one's going to be an email or a phone call. You may only have one appeal. The idea is to reach out to people 4 times a year so they hear from you 4 times. They're not just hearing from you once. Part of this whole plan is public relations. Okay? Annual giving equals public relations. You're telling people a message along with asking them to be a part of it, just as we did with our elevator speech. Okay? So that's why communicating with people in a timely manner is really important. Again, this is the model. You know the model. Take it back when you make your plan and see what fits with your budget and with your chapter, with what other activities you have going on. One of these might be an invite to your auction or whatever else you have. Just making sure your timing for how you communicate is out there in a quarterly basis. It's a little bit about annual giving. A couple ways we talked about soliciting for annual giving. When we talk about this, it's traditionally a direct mail or an email solicitation or a newsletter. But I think a couple of things that I love to suggest, especially with phoning, if you're not having success necessarily soliciting through phoning, but using phoning for thanking. Thanking, and this is a great activity for students and for board members, because being able to pick up the phone and not having that pressure of I have to make the ask, but I actually just get to say thank you to someone, and they're surprised usually that I'm just calling to say thank you for your gift. And you probably as a chapter want to decide, especially if you get certain level of a gift, that that person gets a call right away from the head of your chapter or one of the board members saying thank you, so that that person doesn't just get a generic letter, but that they actually feel that thanks. The renewal process, I will tell you, is a great deal easier when people feel grateful for the gifts. Think about your own giving. When you have been appropriately thanked, it's really easy to write that check again in the next year. So think about those things when you build that plan. How can we thank those that are giving? Because renewing them is a lot easier the next year. So maybe here we build in a phoning that's just a thank-a-thon.
Direct mail versus email, what's going on there in terms of the success of email to solicit? It's sure easier to ignore, but...
Yeah. I think some of the things we hit on with email, getting the email addresses, keeping a current email address, all those issues are coming into play. The jury is still really out on e-solicitation. Again, I think it goes back to it's good to have it as part of your plan. For those that have switched over to it being your only plan are not seeing great success. This seems to have to be a part of the plan. One, direct mail solicitation has to be a part of it.